Donald Trump has purposely chosen to ignore any references to today's federal holiday of Juneteenth to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. Trump issued no statement, proclamation, or social media post to mark the occasion. When asked whether the president planned to observe the day in any formal way, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said, "I'm not tracking his signature on a proclamation today." Pressed again on whether Trump might address the day at a later time, Leavitt responded, "I just answered that question for you."
Juneteenth, does the president plan to commemorate the holiday today or make any comment on it?
I'm not tracking his signature on a proclamation today. I know this is a federal holiday. I want to thank all of you for showing up to work. We are certainly here. We're working 24/7 right now. Nikki, go ahead.
Actually, that was my question. Will he plan to mark Juneteenth in any way, either today or with an event later on, maybe next week?
Sure. I just answered that question for you. Go ahead.
Juneteenth, celebrated on June 19th, marks the day in 1865 when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, to inform the last enslaved African Americans of their freedom, more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. While Trump has acknowledged this history in the past, this year he made no public remarks related to it. The silence from Trump on Juneteenth stood in contrast to his more vocal recognition of the holiday during his previous presidency. Previously, he had issued formal statements emphasizing the historical significance of emancipation and celebrating the contributions of Black Americans to the country. His 2017 message referenced the soulful festivities in Galveston. In 2018, he praised the unbreakable spirit of African Americans. By 2020, Trump called Juneteenth a moment that balanced the memory of injustice with the incomparable joy of emancipation. That same year, however, Trump drew sharp criticism after scheduling a campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on June 19, a city that was the site of an horrific racist massacre in 1921. Facing backlash, he moved the event to June 20. Days before the rally, he told the Wall Street Journal that he'd made Juneteenth very famous, asserting that few Americans had previously known about it.
You know what look at my African American over here. Look at him.
Despite this, black communities have long celebrated Juneteenth, well before it became a federal holiday in 2021, when President Joe Biden signed it into law. Since returning to office in January, Trump has taken steps that many see as rolling back diversity efforts, including a recent executive order eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across federal agencies, which he called immoral discrimination. Trump has gone out of his way not to appoint black people to his cabinet. On March 27, Donald Trump released an executive order misnamed Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, which advocates pseudo-scientific ideas on race and attacks funding for programs and institutions that preserve and steward the country's history. The order even goes so far as to suggest that race is a biological reality, reviving a discredited pseudo-scientific notion that has historically been used to dehumanize black people and other marginalized groups. By contrast, Joe Biden had issued Juneteenth proclamations each year in office and marked the occasion with public events. His final celebration in 2024 included performances by legendary artists like Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle, and featured Vice President Kamala Harris dancing on stage alongside gospel singer Kirk Franklin. When Donald Trump's administration finally left office in 2021, 2/3 of surveyed Americans agreed that Trump had increased racial tensions in the United States. The backdrop for that widespread sentiment was the Trump regime's sustained assault on political, civic, and legal efforts to promote racial justice, Trump's consistent use of inflammatory racist rhetoric, and his transparent pursuit of a white supremacist agenda rooted in racial grievance. Fulfilling promises made during the 2016 presidential campaign, the Trump regime engaged in a wholesale attempt to roll back the clock on racial justice by dismantling efforts to address systemic racism and promote a more equitable and just society. Trump's legacy on these issues is encapsulated by the 1776 report published by the White House in the administration's waning days. The report advanced a dystopian vision that demonized attempts at achieving racial equality, designed to restore patriotic education in schools. The 1776 report compared progressivism to fascism, claimed that the civil rights movement embraced ideas similar to those held by defenders of slavery, and sought to downplay the legacy of racism in U.S. history. Historians uniformly condemned the report, pointing out that it was littered with factual inaccuracies and partisanship, and lacking serious scholarship. And the 2024 Trump campaign doubled down on this commitment to racial grievance. It has abandoned civil rights enforcement on behalf of historically marginalized groups and marshaled federal power to ramp up right-wing attacks on equal opportunity initiatives. Indeed, Trump's Oval Office meeting with South African leader Cyril Ramaphosa marked a reversion to the open racism of US presidents long past. And there's ample evidence showing that Trump has been called out for his bigotry and racism throughout his decades in the public eye. In 1973, the Justice Department sued the real estate tycoon and his father for their alleged refusal to rent apartments in predominantly white buildings to black tenants. During the Obama administration, he baselessly claimed the nation's first black president wasn't qualified to hold the office because he was born in Kenya, not the US, as is required under the Constitution. Trump has never had anything genuinely positive to say about the black community because he is the epitome of racist America, and that's precisely why he's found a following in the country. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.